Hello and almost good afternoon. So this is me walking back from I only use the sauna today because somebody was occupying my pool with her children. But actually I didn't need to because the training session wasn't as strenuous as last week's sessions where I had to do 180 squats with 10 kilogram disc and 16 kilogram kettlebell. Anyways, right, so I'm heading back now. I just, while I was in the sauna, I received a phone call from someone. And as I have been putting it out there, I'm back in the party business. I found a venue that suits me, 10 minutes walking distance up the road from where my sister's flat is. So I can pop in and out and check on her during the party. I don't have to travel from any great distance. So it perfectly suits my needs. Right, that's what I want to do. I want to do parties because I love partying. Anyway, so this individual, this friend, kind of friend, called me. And the thing I don't like people to do, if I'm doing something, I don't want anybody, in this case party, I don't want anybody to show up at my party. It was the same when I used to teach exercise class. I don't want anybody to show up at anything that I'm doing to support me, even with sewing. I've had like guys who are trying to get a date or something offer to support my business by asking me to make a pair of curtains or a blind that they don't actually need. I don't want anybody to support anything that I'm doing. Like with the parties, you come to my parties because you want to have a good time, not because you want to come and support me, which I find somewhat condescending. So anyway, I made the strong point to my friend, my kind of friend, and so he understands. So he said that he's not the kind of person who's going to come and shake a leg. He's likely to sit down and just have a drink and enjoy other people enjoying themselves, which is perfectly fine because I cater for people like that. But they have to still bring something to the party. They have to come and bring their good energy, because in order for people to have a good time, the energy has got to be flowing. There has to be good energy. So it's literally just that. Nobody needs to support anybody just because, right? Because I'm not into bias. I'm not somebody who supports bias. Therefore, if one of my friends is doing something and it's not my kind of thing, I won't go. Right? I wouldn't go just because they're doing it and they've invited me. If it's not for me, it's not for me. I'm not going to show up. But in saying that, I wouldn't expect anyone to show up for anything that I'm doing if they weren't going to enjoy it. So that's that. The other thing is as well, in this life, one of my now ex-friends, I've blocked him and deleted him because I was having a conversation with him or whatever it was, a discussion. And he said the subject matter was too heavy. The subject matter was to do with me being left to fend for my sister, right, and not have family, not even friends, but her family pitching in, her blood relatives pitching in. He believed I was being proud for not asking them for support. Now, my personal trainer is ruthless, which is why I hired him, right? He doesn't mess about when it comes to making me do what he wants me to do, training-wise. And so I mentioned that to him because he says it himself. me and him are the same. So I said to him, knowing what he was going to say, that this person said I was being proud for not reaching out to family for support. And he said, why the F should you? He goes, it's their relative. They should know that they need to help her. That is the basic sum total of it. So that conversation was too heavy. And also he was supporting those who don't help. He was saying that in life nobody owes us anything. So he's saying that my sister's blood relatives don't owe her anything, and by extension don't owe me anything. There is this saying, famous last words. I'm going to come back to this at some point when that phrase becomes relevant. Right, so indeed, nobody owes anybody anything. So just going back to what I said, nobody needs to come to my party to support me. However, there is such a thing as human decency. I go back to the other day when I helped someone who posted on Facebook that he felt like killing himself. I will test people. And what I understand is that the people who are greedy for money and who love money would not say no if somebody was giving them a handout. I find that these are always the people who are the first to tell me that I shouldn't help others, that I shouldn't give others money, and to question whether someone is genuine or not. Right? So it's just interesting how people are. One of the things that people have asked me is, how am I going to fund the parties and what do I get out of it? Well, the venue for hire isn't that expensive, and also I anticipate that they're going to make so much money on the night that it would be in their interest to give me the venue in the future free of charge. Right? I can predict that. So, everything isn't always about money. And finally, the other thing is, I wrote this in the book, published 21 years ago, about, people working for money kind of thing, and being tied to their employers. The employer, on two things. The employer doesn't owe members of staff anything because he's set up his business, he's established his business for himself to get rich, not for his employees to get rich. But by the same token, the employee doesn't owe the employer anything. The employer isn't the employee's master. Therefore, if the employee decides that they no longer wish to serve their employer, if the employee decides they no longer wish to serve their employer or work to the employer's slavish rules, the employee has the right to withdraw labor, to quit. None of us are on this earth to, at the detriment of ourselves, help others to live better lives, to be financially better off than us. We are not slaves. Of course, there's slavery operating in other parts of the world, but here in South Croydon, speaking for myself, I am not a slave to anybody, and nobody is my slave. It is for me to go out there in the world and get the quality of life that I want. It is not for an employer to present it to me, or as I said, for people to support me just for the sake of it, right? So I guess that's all I really have to say on this subject, but I've always felt very strongly, which is why I don't do a 9 to 5, and I couldn't do a 9 to 5 even if my life depended on it, because I regard that as a form of slavery, to be sort of tied to those particular hours 5 days a week. And you could be in the most mundane of working environments, jobs, and because of your commitments you have to keep going. For me, that is not life. So this is why I have learned to live on the edge, where, if you like, I live not so much hand to mouth, but I'm willing to take my chances. I'm willing to take risks. If I have a lot of money, I have a lot of money. If I don't, then I don't. But to not be subject to, I have to do this, otherwise I'm not going to have that. This is how people gain control over us, because we feel we live in fear of what might happen, what might not happen. Like I said, this now former friend said nobody owes us anything. The time might come when he gets to eat his words. Again, I say I didn't need to help the gentleman, the young man that I helped get back on his feet. I didn't need to do that, but I chose to do it. I, from time to time, get people sending me messages. I've had one from someone pretending to work for some Christian organization, begging me, pleading me to help because orphans need to eat, and subsequent message begging me in the name of God to help because they're going to get evicted. Now I can say, right, I'm here. If I don't pay the rent, I will be evicted. I don't see anyone rushing to come to my rescue, right? So the kind of support that people are willing to give is not the kind of support that you actually need. I don't see anyone, and I come from a very strong point now, these 3 years that I've been with my sister, where I've been shouldering the load by myself. The kind of support that was needed hasn't been incoming. So I'm slavishly working away to make money, to cover everything. And in the meantime, there are people who are rolling in money who, if they had wanted to support, could have done so. They could have donated a few pounds here and there to towards the upkeep of my sister, towards paying for carers and so on. But they chose not to. So, as the gentleman said, as the ex-friend said, nobody owes anybody anything. But I would beg to differ, because it's the saying, do unto others as you would have done unto you. I help people without necessarily expecting help back. I don't do it under the understanding that if I help somebody, maybe someone will help me. I don't look at it that way. I look to God to help me. I only look to God. God and God alone. Because there are certain situations that, if they are not your fault, God is obliged, God is bound to help you. It's only if you put yourself in peril or in some kind of nonsense that he doesn't need to help you if you acted outside of his will. But for me, the only one I look to for help, for support, is God. And I'm going to end that there. But have a nice day. It's good that it's not raining now in the time that I've been walking. So I'm going to, for the rest of the day, just relax while I can, while I don't always have the opportunity to do that, so I'm going to make the most of it now. But anyway, take care. Look after yourself. Bye-bye.